All right, so I guess we're going to kick off this understanding the pork cutout session. I'm going to throw in a little bit of stuff about the LMR swine as well, just to get you started off, a little bit of background history. We started livestock mandatory reporting in 2001 with the exception of wholesale pork. Wholesale pork is included in the 2010 reauth. They started reporting that in 2013. This made reporting prices, different characteristics, the quantity of cattle, hog, lamb. If you met a reporting threshold, which on this page we've got 100,000 head if you're doing butchers, which is barrows and gilts, and then if you're doing sows, boars, or any combination thereof, you got to hit 200,000 head annually over a 5-year average. And as of 2024, we're covering 97% of all swine and pork marketed in the United States. So I'm going to go through a quick overview of the purchase types. We've got 11 for swine. It gets confusing. The definitions are going to be on the slide. I'm not going to go through the definitions. I'm just going to give you an example. We do have a link to the reference room on the slides as well. You can find all the definitions there if you miss them on the slides. But the first definition we've got is negotiated sales. This is going to be your buyer-seller interaction. This has to happen to be delivered within 15 or 14 days with the day the agreement is made as day 0. So this, again, this is very simple. I call you up, I've got pigs. What are you going to give them for me? Next one's going to be other market formula. This is anything that's going off of CME futures or options. So if you're basing off of those, you go $3 over, they're going to fall in this category. Swine or pork market formula. These are formulas that are based off of either a swine report, a pork report, or the lean hog index. So Western Corn Belt plus 3, 98% of the cutout. Anything that's in that region is going to fall into this category on the reports. Other purchase arrangement. Now, this one was originally designed kind of as a catch-all. If it doesn't fit any of the other definitions, it falls into this one. So if you've got anything with a grain in the calculation, or you're adding in like a non-carcass merit premium, those fall into this other purchase arrangement. Back in 2016, they added negotiated formula. This is a swine or pork market formula where it's done on a lot-by-lot basis, and they're scheduled to deliver no more than 14 days out. This doesn't get used that often, so again, you just have to have 14-day out and lot by lot. Then we've got the packer-owned and packer-sold stuff. This also includes anything that meets the definition of an affiliate, which is on the next slide, but it's based off of the ownership for the last 14 days. And affiliate is just anybody that either has direct or indirect control, either through a packer or has 5% voting interest in that packer. So we're going to do a quick overview here. We got through the purchase types. We're going to do a quick overview on just our various reports. We've got daily direct, prior days, mornings, and afternoons. These are all purchase reports. There's also a sow and boar report that goes out for the prior day, first thing in the morning. Prior days go out by 8 o'clock, usually Central Time. Mornings go out by 11, and afternoons go out by 3 most times. And on there you can see we've got what our volumes are for the different purchase types, and then throughout the report you'll see the different purchase types are broken out with head counts, base prices, and the weighted average for the day. Then you've got your slaughtered swine. This is everything that was killed in the previous 24 hours, midnight to midnight. So this is producer and packer sold data for everything. The average net price, that is the price paid directly to the producer. So again, you're going to find all the purchase type information that we went through earlier. They're on these reports. Now here's our average net price distribution. It ties back to the prior day slaughter report that's referred to as the 201 sometimes. This one takes the average net price and just shows you how many head are up or down depending on where they priced that day. And we added to this report just a month ago weight distributions to try to show a little bit clearer picture of why things are doing what they're doing. So, you know, if there's something that got $20 below average, you look over down at the weight bracket and, oh, it was either a really fat hog or really skinny hogs. That's why they didn't grade as well. They didn't get as good a price. Lastly, we've got our weekly reports. We've got a non-carcass merit premium report. This is where you're going to see anything that has to do with the various animal confinement legislations, Prop 12, Q3, anything like that. And then we've got the various types of what would hit your non-carcass merit premiums. So if it was beta agonist or if you're hitting a breed specific, anything along those lines. These are all simple averages on this report. And then we've just got a few, what we've seen in the market changes. I mentioned negotiated formula was added. We've changed the report formats from, we had text reports up until 5 years ago or so, and then we went to the PDF reports. But everything has gone to now a summarized report where we had the 200, the 202, and the 203 were all the different national reports. Then we went to summarized reports where national and regional are all on one report. That's in the 216, 217, and 218. The biggest thing that I wanted to point out is just how the market has changed in 24 years since we've been doing this. If you look, negotiated started out around 16%. Just last year, it was down under 1% of all the swine marketed in the country. Biggest change has been your ownership. Packer owned and Packer sold now accounts for roughly 48% of all the animals that are marketed in the United States. And here's the resources. Like I said, there's that reference room that we were looking for if you wanted it. We've also got a user's guide to the hog pricing reports. And with that, I'm going to call Chris up here and let him roll through the pork.
Thank you, Kirk. And most of you are probably sitting here going, what the heck are these guys doing? This is supposed to be about the pork cutout. Well, it's going to be. But the problem is that everybody in this room needs to understand that there's more than just the cutout. There's the hog reports. There's all these different slaughter reports that we put out. There's variety meat reports that we put out, etc. And they all affect you guys day in and day out in one way or form. Whether you're a banker, a producer, playing the board, whatever. That's what we're here to do, is to try and help you guys, everybody in this room, understand what we do. You gotta remember, there's less than 60 of us in the country. We've got a team of, well, I guess I'm down to 2 on the pork. We've got 3 on the hogs. We do the feeder pigs, we do the slaughter calls, etc. So it's not like everybody in the country is doing this. The other part, before I get going, that is something that has to be mentioned. We are very, very lucky in this country. This is the only place in the world that this information is publicly known and for free. Anyway, we're going to go through the pork reports quick. The daily, we have the morning and the afternoon, FOB plant and FOB Omaha. Weeklies, of course, we got the negotiated, the formula, the forward, the export, and specialty, along with a comprehensive. Okay, the daily. What's on the daily? It's negotiated sales that deliver within 0 to 14 days on the boxes, 0 to 10 days on the combos. It's domestic and NAFTA, or USCMA. This is totally unlike what the long leggers or the beef side does. Those countries are considered export on the pork. We consider them in with the domestic. On that report, we'll have the cutout, we'll have the individual cuts that drive the cutout, the load counts, etc. Then we have the weekly, which is a compilation of the 5 days. Then we have the formula report. That means it's formulated off from one of the reports that we already do. Then we have the forward. That's the stuff that delivers out front. A lot of that is where the feature activity for retailers comes from. You got to remember, a retailer does not just buy this week for features for next week. They buy 6 to 8 weeks out in front. Part of that has to do with logistics of setting up the ads, going to the print shop, et cetera, et cetera. Then we have the export sales. These export sales have to go on the water. Have to go on the water. So that's a whole different deal than if you're trying to compare what Foreign Ag Service, they come out with their export numbers every week. Theirs includes in Mexico and Canada in their numbers, where our numbers do not. So that's a big, big difference. So beware if you're trying to compare those. Then we have the specialty report. Everybody's like, well, what goes into that? So ACL, animal confinement legislation, open pen gestation, crate-free, antibiotic-free, weight and price labeled, breed-specific, organic, color-graded, whatever. The specialty report does not go into the daily cutout or the weekly cutouts or any cutouts at all, okay? Right now we're averaging, a little over 800 loads a week on the specialty, and it's a conglomeration of everything. As you can see on this report, right here on boneless strap-ons, 154 to 437. That's a heck of a range, ain't it? Well, it could be weight and price labeled on the bottom. It could be USDA organic on the top or antibiotic free. So that's where it's a catch-all. But we need to see this kind of stuff and for the tonnage. 800 loads might not seem like much, but it is. Then we got the comprehensive cutout. That includes in all destinations, all sales type, all delivery periods, includes in frozen product, etc. Some people think that we need to throw the specialty in there. Nah, not right now. What happens if the specialty becomes the norm? Then the premiums go away. What happens then? Is it special yet or not? We don't know yet. From a market news standpoint, we're going to keep those segregated out for now. All right, here's what you came for, and you're going to listen to the old man go off the deep end. I walked into the Des Moines office in 1996, January 2nd. This is the cutout that we had in 1996. This was developed in the 1960s. I don't know when the yields were updated, have no idea if they were ever updated between then and now. It was for a 175-pound carcass. There was no account for the skin or the bone. There was no boneless product included except for boneless picks. And there was no credit items. So tenderloins, back ribs, 42% trim, trim with trace, wasn't even accounted for. And we went off from an industry used the old US number 2 cutout. Again, remember, there are no, the official, I shouldn't say no, But the official USDA grades for hogs are still US 1, 2, 3, and 4. They haven't been updated. Not my department. But, so I came in and I was sitting on the pork desk and we were doing this and I'm like, how the heck does box beef do this? And I've been in the packing houses for 9 years before that. I stood on lines, watching boneless loins, boneless butts, hams, whatever, in most of the packing houses in the country, and was grading them. And I'm like, we got to come up with something different. So I looked at the box beef and came up with the metrics. We produce boneless loins. Today, almost 80% of the loins in this country are boned. We needed to account for that. We needed to account for skin. We needed to account for fatback or lard. We needed to account for everything. Everything that comes off from that cut floor needed to be included in. So myself, Bill Sumter, Mike Irwin, we went around to the packers and asked for the yields. Now, did everybody participate? No. Did some of them? Yes. Did I take the knowledge that I had from being in the packing houses and incorporate it? Yes. We came out with a product. We ran this and the current cutout side by side for a year and a half. I've slept since then, I think. And then we finally got rid of this old US number 2. The other part that we have to remember is the pork carcass cutout represents an estimated value of a hog carcass when it comes out of the chill box and before it hits the cut floor. It's an estimated value, folks. We use average industry yields. Now, we had to account for the packaging because, you know, box beef, that's a gross value because every piece of meat coming out of the box beef, except for 50% trimmings, is vac packed. Take a guess what? On the hog side, 54% of the hog is going to further processing. And the other 46% is sold vac pack. So to equate those and get it back, that carcass, or get that carcass together, we had to account for packaging. Now, we update that as often as we can. Then the other factor was labor. Would anybody in the packing house side tell me what their labor cost was? What do you think? I had a couple, so I had a pretty good idea, and I could get close enough, and you know what? We must not have been too far off because Dr. Steve Meyer didn't call me right off the bat and told me I was stupid as all holy heck. So we must, him and Lee, you weren't quite around at that time. Glenn, you weren't quite around at that time. But I didn't have every packer in the country calling and telling me that I was a total idiot. So I had to be close. So those are two items that are totally different that we had to incorporate in. Again, remember, this is based off from negotiated sales delivering within 0 to 14 days on boxes, 0 to 10 days on combos. The refrigeration is fresh only. The frozen doesn't go in there on the daily report. It has to come from barrels and gilts. Now, the comprehensive includes everything else besides that. Today, this is what I was telling you we kind of developed. The yields are updated regularly. We try to do them every year. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but we've been trying to do it here pretty regularly. 215-pound carcass. Accounts for skin and bone. Now, the problem with that, folks, is the skin and bone values come from in a report, the variety, or the tallow and protein report, that is still done on a voluntary basis. So if lard actually, we went, what, a month and a half without a lard trade, so the price of fat didn't change. The meat and bone meal, of course, that one stays, we get quite a bit of that. The new way accounts for boneless product. It accounts for back ribs, tenderloins, and we take out the packaging and the labor. This is very complicated to some folks. To others, it's not. Some people think that we need to change it and dumb it down totally to nothing, down to one cut. But the problem is, as an industry, we produce all these other different cuts too. Everything should have an influence, in my estimation. So we'll see here what's going to happen. But as you can see, all these different items, strap, quarter-inch loins, eighth-inch loins, bone-in centers, strap-on, strap-offs, boneless sirloins, bone-in sirloins, blade ends, tenders, butt tenders, back ribs, riblets, 72s, 42s, fat bone, shrink. All right, I'm going to ask a question. If I took the price of 42% trim and 72% trim from yesterday, and I cut that in half, what effect overall would that have on the cutout? We were at $1.20 on 72s, so that'd take them down to 60. And 42s, we were at 66 and a half, so you take it down to 33. What do you think that's going to do to the cutout? Anybody guess? No, I took the prices down, I cut the prices in half. So instead of the value going against this would be 60 instead of $1.22, and this was at 66, but now it's 33 bucks. So if I take and cut those prices in half, I'm going to take the cutout down $3.50 just because of the price of trimmings. Here's another analogy. This one's more relevant. Before some of the things were put in place, and we had an export market for front feet and hind feet, okay? We were at like $1.10, $1.20 on front feet. And if we took those down to into the 40s, so they lost $80 in value per hundredweight. What do you think that did to the cutout? Another $1.75. So we are not, the point I'm trying to make is we are a global market. Anything in this world will affect it in one way or another. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I'm just saying, for every little thing that's done, there is ramifications that come around. Here's today. The loin, the butt, and the spare rib, and some of the picnics, those are all vac packed. Those are our current yields that we use. The ham, of course, is 24.5%. So if the ham and the loin are going the same way, yahoo as far as producer is concerned. In the belly, the same, since that makes up 16. So between those three primals, you're talking 50, 66% of the hog. Let me back up for a minute. I got lost, which is normal for me. The cutout is not part of livestock mandatory reporting. It is something that we have done, we have developed, and I don't see it ever going away. But if push comes to shove and you get the wrong person in the wrong place, they could tell us to quit doing the cutout tomorrow. This whole industry would come unglued because everybody in this room knows, as well as I do, this cutout has become a mainstay. A little history on how the cutout became so relevant in the hog industry. We had this out, like I said, in '98. About 2005, there was a company out here that decided they were going to start wanting to price hogs off from the cutout instead of doing the Iowa, Minnesota. That was about the beginning of hogs being priced off from the cutout. It was about 05, 06, someplace right in there. Might have been a little bit earlier. They were offering 80% of the cutout for those that know the different percentages that are being offered today. So that didn't really fly. But then as the producers wanted to become more close to the consumer, that is where the cutout, the prevalence of the cutout being included into all these different hog formulas have come around and started. And now today, I'll tell you what, I don't know the number, and Kirk doesn't know the number. We don't know the number. I don't know how many hogs are affected by the cutout, but I'll guarantee you what, it's one whole heck of a lot of them. And we cannot quantify that because we don't have that data. So, anyway, other reports, these are the ones that I was talking about that are voluntarily done. The byproduct drop value for hogs, the variety meats, the tallows and proteins. Those, you talk about the drop value. On the beef side, it's a heck of a big deal because that cattle hide's coming off on the kill floor. But on pork, it's not so much. But these are done voluntarily. If we get reports on some of the products once every 2 years, we're darn lucky because it's done voluntarily. There was a push at one time to maybe include those into livestock mandatory reporting, but we don't know where that's going to go to yet. We've got a national retail report done for pork, and we've got a monthly pasture-raised pork report. The reference room again. One thing that I'm going to tell you. I know that you want me to tell you how to use the cutout to price hogs. I can't do that. That's going to be up to you guys. It's been used in a lot of different manners. All I can say is that we will do our damnedest, Kirk and I, to keep it relevant, up to date, with the yields, with the cuts that are going into it, so that if you want to use it as a producer, that's fine. But our reports were never meant to be formula. be formulated off from, and that's the way him and I look at things. We are independent. We don't put any emotion into it. It's what we do.